only place for everything Vikings. 6, 1, 2, Vikings.
Welcome back to the 612 Vikings podcast. I am here, Dustin, with my friend Drew. We're back at it again with another episode live to you on a Friday night. By the time you guys see this, you guys will probably watch this on a Monday. But we are here live on the YouTube channel. We're talking about JJ McCarthy and a couple other Vikings things as well. So, Drew, how are we doing tonight?
We're doing good, and like I said, we got big breaking news coming through with J.J. McCarthy finally signing his rookie contract with the Minnesota Vikings. The long wait is over. Now there's only two players left that are left unsigned, and the other one being still the other first-round draft pick in Dallas Turner. But like I said, one is off the board now in J.J. McCarthy. So we'll start with you, Dustin. How are you kind of feeling about that?
I'm excited that it finally gets done. You know, he doesn't have to sit out through like training camp or anything, because if JJ never signed his rookie contract or anything, he can't participate in any training camp activities. He can be there, he just can't participate. And the whole lingering thing with him too is he wanted that signing bonus up front in cash or whatever it was. And just finally glad that it finally got done. And, you know, he gets that 12.71 signing bonus. 21.8, fully guaranteed throughout 4 years. So pretty good rookie deal for JJ McCarthy, I would say. So yeah, I'm excited that it finally gets done before training camp and we get to actually see him participate. So
yeah, you said the rumor kind of circling was the signing bonus up front, which the bonus was $12.7 million, give or take a couple $1,000s out of that. But if it's true with the rumors that he did want it all up front, JJ McCarthy's got himself a very hefty payday today. So very good day for McCarthy and very good day for the agents out there. And like I said, if you don't know why, some of these guys want it up front, a lot of it is just, economic stuff. They can invest it, they can go and they can purchase the nice fancy stuff that athletes like to get. So so I bet you, JJ McCarthy's a very happy fellow today for sure. So
yeah, I wonder when Dallas Turner will get his too, because I'm sure it'll probably be within this next week, because training camp starts on Saturday, and yours truly will be there to witness everything. So I'm hoping Dallas Turner will get his. It doesn't sound like his contract talks or anything is kind of out of I don't know, just it doesn't sound like there's a problem with it. So I'm sure it'll get done sometime this week. I'm hoping early this next week, maybe latest Tuesday, I would say, maybe Wednesday. So we'll see how that goes. And he's the only one that's yet to sign his rookie contract. What do you think his contract would kind of look like, you think?
Well, if you don't know, the deals and stuff are already pre-slated out. You could find that on like Over the Cap or Spot Rack or anything like that. So I don't have those numbers currently in front of me, but all the numbers are already preset for every draft pick this year. So it'll obviously be a little bit less. It won't be as much as what JJ's making this year. So
no quarterback money.
Yeah, not the quarterback money, but like I said, it's still a good deal for the Vikings. They got a top 10 talent player in the draft at 17. They traded a good amount of day 2, day 3 picks to get him, but it costs a lot when you got the two most important positions in football and your pass rush and your edge guys and your quarterback. So winning isn't cheap, as they said in the great movie with Jerry Maguire, Tom Cruise. So winning ain't cheap. So we're gonna see how it all plays out in the next few years, and hopefully it comes out in the Vikings' favor.
Yeah, I think the Vikings are kind of going the path of what the Texans did last year when they had C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson, respective offensive and defensive rookie of the year. They can try to replicate that with J.J. McCarthy and Dallas Turner. Hopefully Dallas Turner, he doesn't have to be as good as, Will Anderson, or maybe he'll be better or just as good. We don't know yet. But as a guy that dropped down to 17, pretty much everybody thought that he was going to go to the Falcons at, what was it, number 9? 8, 9, whatever it was. So Yeah, for him to drop all the way down to 17, I feel like he thinks that he's a little bit disrespected in the league now too. So he has a chip on his shoulder this year. He'll probably get a lot of playing time too. Especially with Van Ginkel kind of slowly getting into the rotation as well with that foot injury. So we'll see how much he plays in training camp, and just kind of go from there.
Yeah. A lot of storylines coming out between the Vikings and the Falcons this year, with Kirk leaving, the heir to Kirk,
Yeah.
and kind of the underrated story you kind of brought up was Atlanta. Everyone kind of had them mocked, and everyone and their grandmothers had Dallas Turner to the Falcons. It just seemed like that was the guy to go there, and then you just saw him fall and fall and fall, and hopefully we get like a Randy Moss 2.0 with the guys that fall and they come out in the Vikings' favor. So.
Yeah, right. And I think the Falcons were trying to do like a Jordan Love situation with, when he was drafted to the Packers, 2020 was it? So,
Yeah, 2020.
2020 when he was drafted, he sat behind Rodgers for 4 years, and he balls out, in his first year that he actually starts, in that second half of the season. So, if the Falcons were to wait 4 years for Penix to start, Penix would be like 28 years old, and there would be no point for him to start that late into his career. That's like the prime of his career, just like in the middle of it too. So I think the Falcons will probably move on from Kirk within, the next year or two, I would think. Maybe try to trade him or cut him, release him, whatever they want to do. So it'll definitely be interesting to see what the Falcons do the next couple of years.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll see what happens with them. I can't wait for this year when the Vikings play the Falcons. That'll be super fun. Just hope that both teams are healthy enough so it's actually competitive. So
yeah,
it might be JJ McCarthy versus Kirk Cousins, or Penix versus McCarthy. Many different combinations.
It's definitely what the media wants. That's definitely for certain. So maybe
I thought it'd be a week 1 game though. That's what I was hoping for.
Yeah, well, there'll still be a lot of eyes on it, so that's the thing that matters. It'll probably be nationally televised around the country,
right.
So we'll see how it goes.
Hell yeah. All right, guys, before we move on to our next topic here, I want to give a quick shout out to Underdog Fantasy. Underdog, where you can place your bets with higher or lower on Pick'em. You can pick up to 5 different players, win 20 times your money, and get some scorchers in there, win up to 100 times your money as well. Over 100 or not 100, $1 billion in total winnings. All right. And if you refer and get my code, That Vikings Fan, you get a special pick in there as well. So make sure you guys go download Underdog Fantasy, and it's a very fun app to use. Win some money. Me and Drew have definitely won some this past year, along with Jaden's jerseys. Nick, that has been on the show before too. So Speaking of betting and all that, FanDuel, they had their NFL power rankings today, yesterday, whenever it was. They had the Minnesota Vikings, your Minnesota Vikings, ranked 26 out of 32 in the entire NFL. And get this, the rest of the NFC North, the Packers, the Lions, and the Bears, all were ranked in the top 15. I don't know how the Bears get that much higher above the Vikings, if anything. But what do you think about that, Drew? Like that's kind of asinine to me. 26, and then the rest of the NFC North being in the top 15. Like,
the thing I get the excitement for the Bears fans. You just got Caleb Williams. They won the Caleb Williams sweepstakes by trading away their number 1 pick the previous year. So, like I said, he still has to be a guy that works out. There's a lot of rumors about the ego and the leadership qualities, which still remain to be seen if he can be that guy over there. But, like I said, to have him at 15 and have the Vikings all the way down at 26, I do still think the Vikings have the more talented roster as a whole, like when it comes to just team building aspect of it per se. So to have the Bears at 15 to the Vikings 26, like if you look at a lot of it isn't even just offensively. They had some good pickups with Keenan Allen, but Keenan Allen's also 32, so it is something to note with the age. Could a regression hit? Is is it something kind of where, Randy Moss was kind of lighting it up with the Patriots kind of in his prime, goes to the Vikings, really doesn't do much for the rest of his career kind of after that. So, just because it's a new team and he's, it is signs of a regression. It is something that could happen if, and it's obviously something that Vikings fans are hoping for. But, Roma Dunze, he's still TBD, good prospect, but, we've seen Bears draft wide receivers in the top 10 and they haven't really done much. So, like I said, we got to just kind of have to see them play it all together. And I feel like a lot of their expectations are built off of potential more than actual like what they are right now, where I feel like the Vikings are at that spot now, especially defensively. They were the 12th ranked scoring defense last year, going from 30th to 12 with the big addition being Brian Flores, and I understand, the Daniil Hunter departure, but it is still one player. One player doesn't make a whole defense. It's a lot of it with schemes and blitzing and pressuring the quarterback and using those disguises. So to have the Vikings down as like a bottom 6, bottom 5-ish roster, I still think it's a little bit disrespectful, a little bit, like we've been saying this whole time since this show has kind of started dating back early off season, that this team is basically built on defense this year. And that's what I think is going to be the identity of this team going into next season, would be the defense. And that's, I feel like, how we're going to win more games than it would be on their offensive side, with Sam Darnold. But, a lot still remains to be seen, but you know what? This is just a good post for the old takes exposed, and we'll definitely keep that in our drafts for certain. So,
100%.
Yeah, that's kind of my little tangent on that. So,
yeah, I do want to add to the Daniil Hunter thing too. Is like when we lost him initially, I was so devastated. I'm like that's one player that I wish the Vikings would have re-signed. And looking back at it now, especially after the draft, after we got Dallas Turner, and after free agency and all that, when we have Grenard, Van Ginkel, and Turner, 3 different guys, make up one Daniil Hunter basically. And like you said before, one guy doesn't make up a defense, multiple guys do. And with those 3 guys that I just named, I think that will be a lot better for this defense. The offense doesn't have to double team one guy, and then the rest of the defensive line is pedestrian, at best. And when you add a guy like Andrew Van Ginkel, a guy that's experienced, Grenard that came off of 12 and a half sacks, mm-hmm. and then a big potential in Dallas Turner, I think it will pan out very well for the Vikings on that defensive line. You don't have to worry about just one position. If Hunter went down, we were like, oh crap, who's stepping up now? But now we have Grenard and Van Ginkel and Turner, a lot of rotational guys in there too, and we don't have to worry about someone getting injured because someone is like starter material basically right after that. Yeah. Whether you want to put Van Ginkel or Turner as your depth guy, but I think Flores will definitely find a way to get all 3 of those guys on the field at the same time, quite often. So, I'm super excited about that as well.
Yeah, and it's also worth noting too. I'm glad you brought that up with having them all on the field at the same time too. Is Van Ginkel is a guy that can also play that stand-up linebacker position opposite of Ivan Pace. So it kind of it's honestly really scary to me. Like if Dallas Turner does pan out, which odds are of Dallas Turner panning out over JJ McCarthy is, if one had to pan out, it's more likely going to be tipped over to Dallas Turner just based on historical odds and whatnot. But hopefully it's the other way around where we have that franchise guy, and hopefully both of them work out. So, but yeah, like I was saying, those third and down situations where he's playing on those blitzes, it's really scary that you've got, Harrison Phillips to kind of plug up. He can eat some double team guys where, Grenard and Dallas Turner and Van Ginkel and Pace, if they're all doing a full out, basically a full out blitz, cover 0 blitz. Those guys, they got some pass rush moves on them. So they're going to get back. They're going to get to the back of the quarterback really, 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 really quickly. So I think this pass rush is going to be something that is definitely a underrated factor with this team going into next year. So something that the media is definitely not really talking about.
Yeah, for sure. And another thing I forgot to add about the McCarthy contract too is this is the first time in Vikings history that they've given a rookie quarterback a fully guaranteed contract with that signing bonus as well. So the Vikings are making history with that, and I guess that's pretty interesting too. I know we kind of already talked about the whole contract and all that, but I just thought that was kind of interesting because you were talking about the boomer bust, McCarthy versus Turner, and obviously McCarthy's more likely to not be a bust, but just not pan out as well as a different position. But yeah. Just another super interesting nugget on that.
Yeah.
So.
I think it goes more to show too, like how much faith they've had in him. They've seen him in OTAs. They've seen him play and kind of operate the system in OTAs and kind of get a fully understanding of how he's going to be. And I think a lot of it goes to how much faith they have in him. Like, because they said it's the first time it's ever happened. This isn't even something they did with Dante Culpepper. So, that was supposed to be the guy that was supposed to take the reins off Randall Cunningham to lead this, at the time was the most explosive offense in NFL history. So they put a lot of faith in him too. So the fact that this is fully guaranteed is something that definitely, it shows that they have a lot of faith in him. And like I say, if there's any critics out there that say, that Michigan never really had any faith in them, the Vikings don't either, it's just gonna be a handoff merchant or whatever, the contract speaks for itself with it being fully guaranteed. So yeah, like I said, it just a lot of it is just how much I'm excited for the season. So I want to see this guy play and get the thing going. So I think that's a lot of Viking fans are kind of feeling right like that right now. It's kind of like, when you're 6-7 years old with the fresh on Christmas morning, what is it going to be? So you don't know what you're really going to get. Yeah, you got to shake the box. That's kind of where we're at right now. We're kind of shaking the box right now with training camp coming up. It's about to be that time. So like I said, I'm excited. Well, a lot of Vikings fans, they'll get to see McCarthy play at training camp. I know, Dustin, you're going to be over there too. So you kind of give us a breakdown of how he looks over there. So, yeah.
I do want to add too, from the Purple Persuasion, they tweeted out some that's kind of interesting as well, is according to Kevin Seifert, Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell has said both publicly and privately, in quotes, that quarterback J.J. McCarthy's timetable is open-ended. Seifert also noted that a natural transition point from Darnold to McCarthy is after their Week 6 bye. So that's also kind of interesting. I think they're kind of looking at, obviously, Darnold to start. I think all Vikings fans knew that Darnold was going to start. And then, possibly McCarthy shakeup, mid-season. But if it's going to be that early, after the bye week, after Week 6, I feel like, if McCarthy's ready, I'm all for it.
Yeah, we've been saying too, like the last month or two, that that's kind of where the sweet spot would be for McCarthy start to kind of happen, would be that Week 6, just because I think they want to get him surrounded in the best possible scenario in his first start with Hawkinson being back. I don't think they want to throw him out with, with all due respect, Josh Oliver or Nick Buse or Robert Tonyan. Like, I mean, they're solid, contributors to the team, and I think, I don't think it's unfair to say that they're not a TJ Hawkinson, a guy that can definitely, get those got to have it first down balls, the sure-handed guy. So it's something that's a little safety blanket, and it's showing, even at Michigan too, like McCarthy's shown to really utilize his tight ends back with Colston Loveland, and he's the top tight end in this next class coming up. So he's definitely a guy that likes to utilize those tight ends a lot too. So in the system that O'Connell has, really relies on those tight ends too to get those yards after catches and those big time catches as well. So I think that's, like I said, it's to get him in the best possible scenario. And, Darnold is a guy that has seen a lot worse with the Jets and the Panthers. And also, like I said, he'll still have Justin Jefferson. So it's not like he's, being put in a terrible scenario either. So, he'll get his start in what weeks 1 through 5, see how he does. And, worst case is, if you do start McCarthy at Week 6 and he's looking like he's balling by, Week 1, for those first 2 starts, maybe it's a scenario where you sit back and you find a trade partner for Sam Darnold. You can get another, maybe you can get a 2nd or 3rd round pick too. So, there's always that one team, that has that quarterback injury where they're a contender, but suddenly they're no longer there and they need somebody to kind of float them into the playoffs. And, maybe the Vikings are that next team that sends another quarterback, kind of like the Sam Bradford kind of situation a couple of years ago.
Right. And to add to that too is, with Jordan Addison likely getting a suspension, Hawkinson being out for a little bit too, is Sam Darnold. He hasn't had, quite the talent to really work with, the past two teams that he's been on minus San Francisco, because he didn't really start with them. We Vikings fans always talk about, oh, this is the best supporting cast that Sam Darnold has ever played with, and blah blah blah. And excuse me, with Addison likely being suspended, Hawkinson not starting the season, with just Justin Jefferson, that's probably it is his best weapon that he's going to work with, but it's not the full supporting cast. And then by the time Hawkinson comes back, or however long the Addison suspension may or may not happen, however long that is, Darnold won't be working with the full supporting cast. And it's the NFL. Injuries happen, suspensions happen, everything like that. So I don't know. I think JJ will probably get a better opportunity to work with, all the starters and all the weapons like that. So that's another interesting thing to talk about too later down the road.
Yeah, he's definitely not working with the guys off the street at 7-Eleven, as Mike Zimmer said. It is famous one-liners that he gave to the defense, but like you said, Darnold's going to have a good cast around him. We'll see what he does. I do think that there's still something there. I'm always on the fence of like you're not, especially now as NFL. I feel like you're just not a first round pick without having some sort of talent. And the thing is just what kind of talent are you getting, to work with too. And you brought up too that JJ McCarthy is being put in the best situation possibly we've ever seen, or especially as a year one starter. I think the best one was probably Dante in the 99 year, but he just didn't start. But it's definitely one of the greatest ones, you can definitely say. I think the ones that kind of come to mind recently was Andrew Luck in 2012 after Peyton Manning left. In 2010, he had the neck thing. They had Curtis Painter back in 2011. I think they won like 1 or 2 games. So they really just, they lost, suck for luck was kind of the saying there, I think. So, he saw Reggie Wayne, and, I think they had Kobe Fleener around that time too. I don't know if I think Dallas Clark was on the way out. So, they had a good cast around him there. And I think another one that kind of comes to mind is that 2014 Chiefs team after they hired Andy Reid. They took Eric Fisher at number 1. They saw Jamal Charles. Matt Castle wasn't horrible. And I do think they picked up Alex Smith too at that time. I think he was their starter. I think that year, his first year with Andy Reid. So that is something to note too. So I think that's another one that kind of comes to mind within like the last decade or so, give or take a few years. But, it's definitely. What's up?
You kind of got me jogging my memory on that, because with the Chiefs, what year did they have Nick Foles start? Wasn't that 2015?
I believe it was like 2013. I think that was the year that he was there after the Eagles, and I think that was part of the reason why they stunk it up so much there, because I think they had only won like 3 or 4 games that year. And I remember the class wasn't really that good of a class, because they had Eric Fisher, the Luke Jokel. That was like the really, really historically bad class. I think Deion Jordan was in that class too. So I think the best player in that top 10, it was probably Lane Johnson to the Eagles, which is kind of ironic that they fired Andy Reid, goes to the Chiefs. He's got a dynasty there. Eric Fisher was kind of the blindside block for Mahomes for a little bit, and then the Eagles kind of got their guy in Lane Johnson, their franchise right tackle. So it's kind of weird how things look, looking back, how they all worked out. But
I must have been thinking of Nick Foles on the Rams then in 2015.
Yeah, he played with our magician season, our magician quarterback in Case Keenum, lightning in the bottle kind of guy. So, but to kind of get back to the the main point is McCarthy is the guy that, if you look back in the last decade, the one thing that shows with those two teams, just off the within the last decade, that have had the best supporting casts with the Chiefs and the Colts, and then they've all panned out at some point. And another thing too, historically, is just showing that, we brought it up earlier. I think we had Sean on when we said that usually the quarterbacks taken as the first quarterbacks have not won Rookie of the Year. The only guy to do that was Sam Bradford, and he won it basically by default, because we joked. I think because we joked with him that Marquise Pouncey from the Steelers got a Rookie of the Year vote as a center. So it goes to show how weak that voting or how weak that offensive draft class was. It was definitely defensive heavy. So, I do think history is definitely on JJ McCarthy's side if they show the trends of how things are going from here, from point A to point B to point C and what it takes to be a successful quarterback in the NFL. The Vikings are definitely checking a lot of those boxes. And it's something that, all the other teams really don't have, the closest one probably being the Bears. But like I said earlier, the thing that they don't have is, the first quarterback taken usually doesn't win Rookie of the Year. So that doesn't mean he still can't be good. It's, Justin Jefferson didn't win Rookie of the Year, even though he should have, but he didn't. He's
freaking Justin Herbert, man.
yeah, exactly. So it's something that you don't have to win a Rookie of the Year. So if there's any Bear fans, keyboard warriors that find this video, start typing in the comment section. It's I'm just saying history is on the side for the award, but just because you don't win the award doesn't mean you can't be a good quarterback still. So like I said, I do think if McCarthy were to win Rookie of the Year, he would have to start somewhat sooner, or he'd have to have CJ Stroud-like numbers and have nobody else offensively really compete for him. Because if there's a guy that comes even close to sniffing what Puka Nacua did or Sam Laporta did in their rookie years, they're going to just give it to the position guys. So, I mean, there's still a lot to go on. I mean, there's still a shot. There's the reports that still say that McCarthy could still start week 1. So you never really know with these things. It could just be a chess not checkers thing and try to keep the Giants in disguise a little bit of in the dark of who we're actually starting week 1.
Could the Vikings and Kevin O'Connell just be pumping up the tires of Sam Darnold and then have the Giants or whoever game plan around Sam Darnold and then switch it up week 1 and be like, "Yep, McCarthy, you're starting."
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
That's definitely. I think Steve Kerr did that with. I think it was with Andre Iguodala. I think he started Iguodala over Harrison Barnes. I think for the NBA Finals. So it's definitely been done before. So maybe it gets done at the NFL level too. So they just keep it close to the vest. That'd be definitely a exciting time in the world of social media and the internet. So,
dude, Vikings fans would go crazy over that.
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
Yeah, it would definitely be funny, but yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think that's pretty much everything for today. Everything that we kind of talked about, kind of until training camp starts picking up, and talking about that and plays and everything like that during training camp. It's gonna be a little slower this next week. We'll try to come up with some topics for you guys and kind of go from there. Hopefully, no more arrests happen, no more DUIs or baby mama anything. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. So
awesome. Well, until the next episode, Drew, we will see you probably Monday. We'll try to be back Monday.
Yep.
So,
Skull.
All right. Thank you guys for joining. Skull Vikes.